Welcome to the Growth Boss podcast, where we seek out the secrets to high-performing campaigns from some of the smartest marketers in the world. I'm your host, Jared Smith. Today, I have Jairo Guerrero with me, and he's going to teach us how he ranks in AI overviews within 24 hours. Jairo helps brands get top search rankings using a simple, proven SEO system. He focuses on building tools that people actually use, fixing technical issues at scale, and creating content that earns trust from both people and search engines. His approach includes expert-driven content, interactive assets like calculators and tools, and smart digital PR that gets brands noticed. He's the kind of guy who can explain SEO in plain language and still get big results. Jairo, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you very much, Jared, for having me. That was a wonderful explanation.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. So I really want to dig into how you were able to get this brand ranked in AI overviews in a period of 24 hours. I understand this is really the future. I mean, if you were to ask me 6 months ago, how frequently am I using ChatGPT? Yeah, maybe daily, maybe a couple times a week, but that has drastically shifted over the last 6 months to where it's kind of like Google, where I can't live without it. But I would say in a lot of ways, it's replaced Google for me. It just provides a lot better results. And I can just see a lot of business owners and marketers these days wondering how they can get their businesses ranked. So let's start at the very beginning. If I came to you and I said, listen, I really need help getting my ranked brand. I heard that you were able to get this other brand ranked in 24 hours. What would you walk me through? How would we go through that process of getting my brand ranked?
So yeah, the most important thing is to understand the return that you might get from being mentioned or having a high rank on any search engine. Some people say that AI search engines do not rank because they don't have a specific index or a specific framework to rank sites. But in the end, it's a list, and in the list, you're higher or lower. So it's a rank.
Yes.
But I would say that the very first thing that I start with is to understand what do you want to rank for and why is that good for your business, first thing, and why is that good for your audience. We don't really know what is the search volume on specific queries for SearchGPT, but we can frame that very well with Google or any search tool. So I will always try to find a balance between what do you sell and are you visible for that keyword at the moment or for that topic? Does anybody know you, that you exist? And if you don't, that's the very first asset that we need to build. So that is how I always start any campaign. And for this particular example, the query that we framed first, or the topic, was actually the product that they sell. So let's say that you're a lawyer in New York. So my client didn't rank for lawyer in New York, and they are a lawyer in New York. So it doesn't make any sense to not be visible there if you provide that service. So that is the very, very first thing. Balance between what your business wants first. That is absolutely the very first thing that you need to do. And then what your audience wants from you.
Okay. Fantastic. Once we've identified that, what are the next steps? I mean, how do we, again, I think the lawyer in New York is a really good example because there are maybe thousands of lawyers in New York that want to get ranked. How would I, as a New York lawyer, get moved up in that ranking system?
So there are a series of assets that you have to build outside of your own business. So there is inside SEO and outside SEO, as they call it. But there's also like you're working on things on your business, like the service you provide to improving your product. But then there are things that you need to do, networking, getting your brand mentioned somewhere. So in this particular case, we had a very strong asset that was a brand that had already a place in the market. So they have been in the business for a very long time. It was easy to identify the best in their niche, which was them and a couple more. So the caveat for this result and the unfair advantage for these results is that the company was already known in their niche. So for us, it was relatively easy. We were I think the 4th or 5th agency, so it was not that easy. For us, it was relatively easy to pull up those rankings or using that asset of the brand, so we could be featured number one on all search engines possible on their niche. So what you need to do if you don't have that is, first of all, don't go after the rankings, go after having a strong presence of your own brand. So they participate in events. Events are fantastic. You can go to have a booth on a specific event, participate in online events as well. So an online event, I participated in many online events. Offline events. So you go physically to fairs and meet people personally. But that builds an asset. That means that you exist, that you're visible. You will get a backlink eventually from Authoritative website back to your website because you're an exhibitor in that event. They participated in many all across the world. Singapore, New York, all the big events on their industry. That was actually their main PR campaign. Like they were always participating on big events. And that gives you presence, that gives you a social media presence as well. Of course, the company would post about it, backlinks to them, and they got good networking. So they got invited to another events, they got invited to or mentioned in relevant sites in their niche. So all of that they were already doing way before they started working with us. And then when they came to us saying, listen, we are like flat in our rankings. We have worked with many SEO agencies. We don't get any sign of growth. So for us, it was very easy to just pull up a few things together and then things started working. But we had a strong asset prior to that. So building that asset is, I think, the very first thing that you need to do.
Yeah, and I want to get into the nitty gritty of what you would do if you were starting from scratch, getting those brand dimensions and those initial links and things. But let's keep going with this particular story. What were you able to tweak? I mean, what simple changes were you able to make to take a strong existing asset and get them ranked in 24 hours? Was this just, hey, they needed some better title tags on their website, or was it something else a little more complex than that?
It was a bit more complex. Not for us. Like for us, like that is a very simple structure.
Sure.
But we got the company tell us, listen, this is what we've done. And they show me like 200 pages, 200 articles that they've written with the previous agencies, and nothing was ranking. Everything was like flat on the plus 50 rankings on Google. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's obvious that you're not ranking high. First of all, because the content has very low quality. Nobody's behind the content. Who is writing the content could be GPT. Actually, they wrote it a while ago, so they actually crafted 2 pieces of content, which is quite heavy, I would say. The main issue was like, but what do you want to earn from this? You won't get anything. Like it was glossary of words, terms, very broad things like what is a podcast? If you will have a website about building podcast, it was so broad that and had so little value that of course the content won't rank. So what we decided to do is just to frame down to what they are good at, building a specific product or offering a specific service, and what is the search demand for it, and what is the current position in the market. So we were just finding good opportunities. Sometimes we were even, like what you said, there are thousands of lawyers in New York. So sometimes you kind of discourage yourself to try and do it. So we had like strong brands positioned in every single keyword that we wanted to rank. Every single topic was already crowded, but we bet on our brand because we saw that they're strong, they're visible, even though they didn't have like a high domain rating, which is a very used metric. They had a very strong presence. You could find them anywhere. So we started just creating content that was useful for that audience. Let's say that you have a blog about building a podcast. So we wanted to rank for the keyword or topic, how I create a podcast. What tools do I create? Which tools I have to use to create a podcast? Best top 10 podcast platforms. Very simple. Like if you're an SEO, those things are the very first ones that appear. Creating listicles, mentioning all the brands, just to make sure that we appear with competitor names on top. And even though we're still the first position, they might not buy from us in the end, but everything was about creating relevant topics based on search demand, based on value of the company, of what value can the company provide. And that was it. We didn't change much of the meta titles, meta descriptions. Of course, we run an audit always to improve those things. But we got the entire team. We got the engineers actually to help us to write the content. So they gave us like what they think, and then somebody else, a copywriter, transformed it into something valuable. So it was so much value for the audience that I guess Google didn't have any other choice, and other search engines neither. Yeah.
And then you assigned some sort of author to that so that Google was at least able to kind of establish their own EEAT on those articles, I assume?
So that is the first thing that I wanted to do. but they didn't have a good author in house.
Okay.
And if we would have had that, of course, we offer also authors, but that is a price point over the budget that we are using. So they were like, listen, let's just write it internally. If it doesn't return results or doesn't improve the rankings, let's try to just hire a strong author in the niche. We could manage without like the EEAT signal of having an author. We could manage just with the brand strength to have that growth.
Wow.
So to me, that was a huge win that actually the company was so strong that was the author. That's it. We didn't have any editorial process. We didn't have like the best author in-house. And I was like kind of shaking, like, oh my God, it's not going to work. But it did, because the quality of the content was outstanding, that I was enjoying the content. So when that happens, eventually it's good. But no, we didn't use like a strong author. I will add it. Yeah, I will add it, but now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you have one, best practices to use it. But hey, that's really encouraging for a brand that, feels like they're in a similar position. Can you talk to us about the cadence in which you published this content? How much content was it? Did you get back up to the 200 or so articles, or was it less?
Not at all.
How frequently did you publish?
So we are like working on batches of 5 articles per month, 10 articles, or 20.
Okay.
This client purchased the lowest tier of content, which means 5. That's it. Within the time frame that we had to actually perform, we probably used what is 5 times 6? No, 5 times 5, 25. 25 pieces. But from the second month, we already saw the growth. So we weren't very much. The best thing is that by the very first items, all the items that never ranked well started ranking well. So for us, it's like we expected only our blogs to rank better.
Right.
But all of a sudden, we started seeing like very top funnel, as they call it, and definitions to start ranking higher. And to me, that was like, oh my God, this is so, that was like an SEO orgasm. Because it was so good, I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, that only the pieces of content that we created are pulling up the entire website quality. So, you don't need to create thousands of articles.
No, and that's wonderful too. Do you think, was the website like not being updated? Had it been kind of stale, do you feel like? And the activity, the high quality activity was what boosted it, or do you think there was something else?
I think because the format of the articles that we wrote were how to do something, best tools or best products of this niche. I guess that at some point people was actually reading it. So the dwell time changed, the engagement increased. So eventually, I don't know up to what level Google can measure that, but I would say that they kind of boosted a bit too much my client, not complaining, but I wouldn't expect that behavior at all. But I think maybe the engagement, so Google was trying, the engagement on these pages are really good, let's try these other ones. And maybe because of they tested and put them up, some people were reading it, and actually was valuable for them. I'm not, I really would like to kind of run a study on why that happened. But it was good. Yeah.
And tell me about kind of the post-launch strategy for these articles. Were they shared on social media? Did you guys do any in-house link building for them, or did they, to your knowledge, generate any organic likes or links or shares or anything that would lead you to believe that, Google may have, seen that and that could have contributed at all? Or no, honestly, it was just high quality articles I published, didn't get a whole lot of social interaction or organic links or anything, and it really was the content itself.
In this case, I wouldn't say that specifically the content we created was boosted by any offline or off-site strategies. Again, just the fact that like while we were running the campaign, there were 2 or 3 or 4 events in Singapore, New York, Los Angeles, whatever. Like the CEO was always present on those, and so I think that is actually the boost. Like they were a strong brand and they never stopped on that one.
Yeah.
We never built backlinks to our articles. Eventually the articles, they might have earned backlinks, but that is not our core service neither. We create we build digital PR campaigns for our clients, but we don't build backlinks as a backlink per se. So no, we didn't share on social media. Again, the budget was relatively mid-tier, so we didn't have room to improvise or to test other things. It was pure content, actually training a lot to the internal content writers. Many of them were using GPT, and when we read the first drafts, we make them rewrite the whole thing until we got it right, and it helped. Like the first version was pure ChatGPT kind of thing, and I was like, no, guys, no, it's not like this. but we managed to kind of give them enough input so they could tweak it up.
So that kind of leads into the next topic I want to talk about for, again, the average business owner, marketer that wants to write content like this that's going to rank. Walk me through what that process should look like, what this content should include so that it is authoritative to Google and to users.
So again, I rely back to your online presence, so your footprint. How polluted is the internet with your name? That is, I think, the most important asset. Then, because I've been able to rank also on my own websites content that has typos, doesn't have a good copywriting framework. My first language is not English, so I like the sentences are not like best ever. So as long as you can demonstrate somehow the expertise outside your website or outside your article, that would be the booster, the ultimate booster. If you don't have that, then you really need to craft things like topical authority. So usually we have like a rule internally. We use the 5-to-1 rule. So for example, you write a how to run an email marketing campaign that doubles revenue. Now you have to have that article that tells you how to do something, and then 5 articles that support that article. For example, best tools for email marketing, best free tools for email marketing, best CRM and marketing tools, best copywriting techniques for email marketing. So there is this combination of, if you have one article, just build things around it that make sense, and actually you can reuse it. Because when you build how to, you can reuse the other 5 articles around it, so you don't write so much. So it's kind of repurposing from smaller pieces to much bigger piece. But that's a lot more needed when you have to compensate. Let's say it's a game of, if you have lower authority, you need to compensate with really good content and a lot of content. If you have a fantastic authority, then 1 page will be enough to rank number 1. And in this case, we have an unfair advantage of having a strong brand asset. So we didn't have to create that amount of content to rank higher. So I would say that try to balance both. As a business owner or a marketing manager, you need to make choices. I would say do not start writing content before you haven't built assets around your brand. Because then after, when you create content, it pulls up so quickly or easier than that, it pays off.
Wonderful. Let's talk about those brand assets that every brand needs to be building. This is flowing so well. You're doing amazing. I love it. So what are these assets that every brand needs to build?
Now it's getting more difficult to answer, because I always want, I'm not a brand strategist. I just know that people needs to talk about you. I think we were discussing it just before the call. Just getting your brand mentioned in listicles, also in the era of LLMs. LLMs, let's say, read, tokenize everything, put it all in a ball, really big. They contextualize things. So the more times that your brand is mentioned within an article that talks about your niche, then there's a context there.
Yep.
And LLMs eventually are built out behind the idea of simulating human thought or the ability of communicating. So we communicate based on context. So we know that if you say IKEA, you immediately contextualize that word with something else, or Coca-Cola. So that type of thing, whatever it takes. The easiest, of course, the ones that actually drive performance are mentions on the news. Like if you appear on the news because you build a digital PR campaign that made you viral and appear on first page of the New York Times, you got it. Like everybody knows you. And I remember that we did that without a plan with a client. We had a contact. It was a journalist. It was the COVID period. My client was selling medical devices, and just having a drink with her, she told us that she needed to report companies that were actually helping other businesses with medical devices and such. And she agreed to come to the warehouse of my client. I was there. She came with a cameraman. They filmed I think half an hour, and then they published that in the news. We didn't pay for it. It was just a genuine appearance on the news. Oh my God, that was the best SEO strategy I ever run.
Yeah.
Because we went, that was crazy. We went like from 2,000 visitors per day to 60,000. Like, that was insane. It was the right moment. There was a lot of demand for medical devices, and we appeared just at the right time. But the growth, I don't even know how to calculate it. It's 2 versus 60. And we didn't run backlinks or anything. So a very, very strong appearance can put you in the front line like right away. Other things will be social media. Social media is used regularly now by everybody, so it's a very good source of trust and a source of authority for Google, I'll say. LinkedIn is used by Google at the same level that Google used to use Wikipedia. So now if you're authoritative on that level, if you get content that gets viral, those are all, first of all, you get online presence on your social media. Second of all, you get authority. Third of all, Google can play with those assets. There's no one-on-one, but social media is one. Being on the news is another one. Backlinks, I still trust them very much, but not so much random backlinks that are just plugged into an article. I like more the backlinks that have a context. So I'm placing many of those these days, which are, let's say that you're an SEO specialist, and I try to place a backlink to your website in an article in the HubSpot that is talking about SEO marketing. So I want your name quoted, your quote, so you're talking about a specific topic. I want your website and then a link. And then I create a context, not only a backlink, because now we're getting AI. So Google is also an AI search engine. Acts differently, but it creates a context. So I want your name named like 1,000 times all across the internet. So at some point it will be very easy to link your name with a niche, with a topic. Other things, podcasts. Other things, just smart marketing strategies, videos, TV. Like everything that goes around people getting to be on top of mind of everybody in your niche.
Yeah. The phrase that's coming to mind right now is community building, which kind of reminds me, of when I got started in SEO 20 years ago. That was kind of what SEOs were pushing at the time, is like, just get involved in your community. Again, these days, you should be on all the podcasts in your industry. You should be active on social media so that not only search engines, but also your general community can see that you're a thought leader. You should be involved in forum threads, Reddit, Quora. Where are people asking questions that you can jump in and answer?
Yeah.
And I would imagine if GPT or Gemini or any of these tools scan your social threads, scan these podcast sites, scan the forums, and every time they, see your niche, you're involved, you're being mentioned, or you're answering questions, it's going to be very easy for them to, again, put 2 and 2 together and say, this guy's clearly the authority in this niche.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I think every single search platform is just trying to simulate us.
Yeah.
So we just want some trust. If I see you like many times, of course I will say, this guy's to be trusted. Yeah.
Yep. So my question is, where's the black hat angle in this? How are people going to take advantage of this?
There's one that I want to try. I'm going to tell you.
Tell me it.
Is black hat only after he fails, I'll say.
Okay.
So everybody can blame and say, you shouldn't have done that in the first place.
There you go.
Okay, I really want to try this, even for my current clients, just to test it out. I think it will be very beneficial for B2B. So I've seen that SearchGPT quotes the Pulse LinkedIn articles, which are horrendous. You can say whatever, but those articles rank very same as Reddit. It's not the best landing page ever, but they rank.
Totally. Yes.
I've seen that. I need to make a study on this, but I've seen it, just the anecdote, the feeling about it. I've seen that ChatGPT is quoting much more often the LinkedIn Pulse articles than Google. So sometimes I see Zapier, for example, ranked below an article of LinkedIn Pulse written in 2000 whatever.
Wow.
So it's okay, so why on earth does this happen? The article is very I never read any of those articles, so I don't even know if they are good quality.
Yeah.
But they're ranked more often on SearchGPT than on Google. And I guess SearchGPT is trying to kind of provide a level of understanding of a specific topic. And maybe those, because are written by somebody, I don't know. I want to try that black hat. I want to write for my clients many Pulse articles written by AI or even written genuinely by somebody. Everything related about the niche of my client. And then at some point see, without writing articles on their website about the topic, then to see if the brand gets mentioned. So let's say that I don't want to backlink from ChatGPT. I just want to ask to GPT, tell me the best brands on this niche. And they just kind of show my clients. That is kind of, I don't know if it is a black hat, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I like it. You know, and here's the interesting thing is I have been using LinkedIn Pulse articles to get ranked on Google. Again, they're not trusted as much, but I'm telling you, you can throw up just pretty much any content on one of these Pulse articles, build a couple links into it. They do very well. They do very well. So I like the double strategy there that we can get ranked in both sources. I was just running a quick search on my side just to see what would pop up out of curiosity. But I like that. I think that that's good. The other thing that I can see brands getting into in selling, couple things. One is you have all these guest post companies, and I think they're going to turn into listicle post companies. So you write a traditional guest post just for the link, but now you're going to be writing a guest post that's a listicle that's, hey, here's the top 7, top 10 companies in the industry. Of course, you're going to put your company in the number 1 position. The other thing I could see getting very popular are just brand mention drops on forum threads where you pay somebody, $5, $7 per brand mention, and they're going around looking for all the different places, to drop just a brand mention, not a link. We're not spamming a bunch of links everywhere, but they're just saying, hey, I've heard Jared's podcast is really good. You guys should check it out, type of thing. If there's a discussion about marketing podcasts and it actually makes sense, to mention it. But I think this is going to open up a whole new world of, kind of SEO services.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say that they are black hat. I mean, what is black hat about it? But
right.
I mean, maybe your brand just gets mentioned on those places. Also, I've seen that kind of thing on Medium. Medium ranks also for
absolutely
like a lot of queries, and they're just kind of parasite, if you could call it like that, parasite SEO. But one thing that nobody's doing, or eventually only big brands are doing, is just create your own Reddit. Just create a community around your, like many LinkedIn authors are creating communities that are gated. So all I would just make them public, allow the crawlers to go there and see what ranks or what not. But I think community building, first-hand experience, all attached within your domain, like the Shopify forum. Shopify forum is the best resource for fixing Shopify issues or understanding Shopify implementations. They are user-generated content. So I think that strategy needs to land somewhere. But I think that is not SEO. That's completely go far beyond only SEO. You need to get a community. You need to get them engaged. You need to offer value in the community. And
I love it. Is there anything else that you feel like marketers, entrepreneurs need to understand if they're going to try to take this on and get themselves ranked?
Social media. I think there's a good combination on B2B. Of course, this is happening already on B2C, business to consumer. So brands that are investing heavily on TikTok or on Instagram, anything that is social that gets you, first of all, that gets you customers. Second of all, gets you authority. So if everybody sees you on LinkedIn or TikTok or YouTube, you will immediately snap as the brand to try us on a specific niche. Those strategies are rather complex because you need to master content creation for that. You could partner up with them. Many of those are doing it. You can partner up with influencers. You might see on your LinkedIn feed many big influencers just promoting a brand. So now the brand gets a lot of mentions and gets customers from the influencer. So investing on social media is effectiveness is as twice as investing independently on each channel, especially if your main market also relies on search. Investing on B2B, on LinkedIn, you will get authority, your website will rank, but you will get also traction for your business within LinkedIn.
Yes.
So it's not like completely separate. So I will say that I'm actually starting like my own LinkedIn growth services. Right now, I'm just helping a few founders to kind of understand how to create content on LinkedIn. But I think I will do it more at scale whenever I kind of group sufficient amount of cases. Because for B2B SEO and LinkedIn, like especially in the SaaS industry or even in e-commerce, I think is a no-brainer.
Yeah. Agreed, 100%. And it just adds one more channel. No business out there should be fully dependent on one or two channels. Again, anybody who's been around long enough has witnessed Google and all their updates, Meta and their updates. Stuff happens, and you've got to be a little bit diversified, or you're opening yourself up to some major pain down the road. Jairo, this has been fantastic. So many great little gold nuggets in here. For somebody who wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So they can find me on LinkedIn, Jairo Guerrero. Hopefully you can find that.
Yeah. We'll link it up in the show notes too. Yeah.
You can go to organichackers.com. I'm running that agency with 3 others more people. We got a bit more technical, so we didn't hire writers. We hired actually an AI engineer to go into automation, go into like every hack that you can possibly imagine. And again, those 2 will be eventually the easiest for me to talk to you or for you to find me. Organichackers.com or on LinkedIn.
Beautiful. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Jared.